I mean, we've got 8 games in April. It's absolutely mental. The first of those is obviously the trip to Ipswich tomorrow evening. And I'm pleased to say that our old friend Benjamin Bloom is joining us from the Blue Monday podcast to help us preview the game. I mean, Benjamin, I think you were one of the first guest pods that we had on back in, it was about 6 months ago, wasn't it, when we last played? And you were there or thereabouts. You'd had a great start to the season. And the big question was, will they still be there after Christmas? And by God, they are. I mean, top of the league and on merit too.
Thank you for saying that. Glen will be laughing at that comment because we were on a different podcast together the other day where other reasons were given for Ipswich's success that were slightly less respectful than you've just alluded to.
You've had a lucky run, right?
a lucky run for about 2 years now, resulting in 81 goals and 25 wins. But look, come on, this is a credible podcast, so I appreciate your respectful tone. Yeah, you were going through your iffy September, weren't you? And the players, the narrative back then in September was, the players were being asked to do something that was very, very different at Southampton than they were previously been under various regimes before. And you had a horrible run, didn't you, where you played, I think, like Ipswich, Leicester, Leeds, and another difficult game, I think, all in a row. And it's almost a little bit like, is that game relevant? It was midweek. Ipswich made 5 changes as well. Just feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? Yeah. Hutchinson got the goal, and so much has changed since then. Other than, as you've alluded to, Ipswich is somehow still hanging around for a year one parachute teams. They're above all of them, for goodness sake. So just crazy beyond expectations. And we've joked on our podcast, September, October, November, December. I'm going all the way to April if you haven't seen where this is going. And Ipswich still in the promotion chat. So, yeah, it's just an incredible season.
I mean, we've all had our blip. Like you say, ours was kind of back in September when we got absolutely hammered by Sunderland. We lost to Middlesbrough as well. You've had your blip as well. The difference being, I think you probably recovered better from that, perhaps, and it didn't knock you off your stride too much.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Because you can almost, like the Southampton blip, well, new manager, big turnover of players, explain that away. The Leeds blip, take over, big turnover of players. The Ipswich blip as well, where, I think against QPR, basically 5 of the first starters were out and Morsey was suspended, who's pretty much the most important player. George Hurst then got injured for the rest of the season. So it's just been an incredible season. I mean, maybe Leicester are having their blip now, and maybe that's the least explicable. Is that a word? The most inexplicable blip of them all. But yeah, I mean, the way they've bounced back's been incredible. So I think it's like 7 wins in 8 now. And I mean, even during that, there was this galling defeat at Cardiff where we kind of played all right, nicked a goal. Cardiff hadn't been in the Ipswich box for 40 minutes and scored 2 set plays. And they bounced back and won 6-0 the next game against Sheffield Wednesday. It's just a team with an incredible ability to win football matches.
Tell us about the additions in January, because obviously a couple of extra players coming in. We managed to nick a couple from Bournemouth, and I know you got one in as well that's delivering.
Well, given what's happened to Ross Stewart, you could have done with nicking the one that we nicked, couldn't you? But no,
that's not lost on us.
Well, yeah, amen. Talk about luck. Signing someone for 10 million quid and then being injured all season, I will give you, is bad luck. Yes, indeed. But no, the massive one was George Hurst had been doing in the system Ipswich players, very sort of modern, where the striker doesn't really just hang around in the box trying to score like, Alan Shearer would have done for Southampton back in the day. But he's kind of running all over the place. And George Hurst became injured against Leicester on Boxing Day. So that was going to be the absolutely vital one of bringing someone in. And just a weird story because Kiefer Moore was at Ipswich before, and bless him, he was appalling. He just stepped up from sort of, I think it was Torquay or something, and couldn't head it, couldn't kick it. And then he went off to Rotherham and Barnsley and came back. We joked on the podcast. It was like Robbie Williams and Take That, where he left as the fat dancer and he came back as the, he'd done more than Take That had done. That was the kind of joke we'd had. He was the big signing, and I suppose play a little bit different when you've got a 6'5" striker. You do tend to put a bit more crosses in rather than cutbacks, and when you're being pressed, you can clip it into the front. And I suppose the other one is Jeremy Sarmiento. He came in as well. He's a bit more a bench player. Interestingly enough, you might actually see Lewis Travis tomorrow, given the way that Southampton will play. Just a really experienced championship midfielder on loan from Blackburn. But yeah, just with Ipswich at the moment, again, they made the signings, and the signings have come into a system that's working really well, and they all seem to have worked out.
It was a tough game on Friday, but a win is a win. And they say, not your best, getting a win, stuff for champions. I mean, what are your thoughts on Monday? Was there we just talking about our game on Good Friday? Maybe he had one eye on Monday. What kind of game are you expecting on tomorrow? Isn't it Monday night?
Well, we're expecting a very, very different game than on Friday night, because I'm sure you guys were across it on Sky, but it was not pretty. From about 60 minutes out, Ipswich didn't string two passes together, basically, and just clung on for dear life. We have to acknowledge with all self-awareness and humility that Blackburn had a goal disallowed in the first half that probably in VAR land, where you've just come from, they would argue, is he in the keeper's line of sight? Probably not. Probably a goal.
Coin
Also
toss
in
that
VAR.
one, I thought.
Say again, Steve, sorry?
Coin toss on that one, I reckon.
Yeah, and the mitigating factor against that is in VAR land, the big pull on Nathan Broadhead in minute 7 would probably been a penalty in VAR land as well. But Blackburn played very differently to how Southampton will. Southampton will keep the ball and, pass. And as we know about John Eustace, the Blackburn manager, it was sit in and press. And to be fair to Blackburn, they played really well and could well have got something from the game. And you're not going to want to hear this, but the teams that have given Ipswich the most trouble this season: QPR away, Ainsworth, Rotherham twice. This game against Blackburn, the teams that have given Ipswich the most trouble have sat behind the ball, counter-attacked, and Ipswich haven't really known what to do. But we all know that ain't happening tomorrow.
No, we're not changing our style. Will Russell Martin get a nice warm welcome?
I think there's so much else going on that I find it quite juvenile, to be honest. But the ex-Norwich connection, really interested in whether Flynn Downs will get any stick, because I think a lot of Ipswich fans think that the club was a complete mess and he did the right thing in getting the hell out when he did. But obviously there'll be a certain pockets that will be resentful. So I hope he doesn't, because I thought Flynn Downs was a great player for us. And from what Glen was saying when I spoke to him the other day, a great player for you as well.
Yeah, he is. Glen, what are your thoughts on the game tomorrow? It's going to be really tough, isn't it? Really tough one.
It is. I mean, the fact that Ipswich are gone top of the... I'm going to clasp at some straws here. I mean, the fact that Ipswich are gone top of the league, it's a different type of pressure. And suddenly it becomes in sharper focus when you do hit the top, and there are only, you must only have 7 games left.
Yep.
Yeah. So you do hit the top with that few games to go. I'm just hoping that subconsciously Ipswich will be thinking a draw was all right for us here in this particular game. Whereas Saints, there's no, whatever they say, they have to go and try and win this game. I think they have to try and win this game, obviously for the points, but also to get everybody believing that something might be possible, because that was depressing on Friday. What happened there against what I thought was a very poor Middlesbrough side. So I'm hoping we go out with the attitude of we're going to try and get on the front foot. We're not going to have this half an hour spell in the game where we just do absolutely nothing. We're going to try and take it to Ipswich. And as you already said, we're not going to sit back behind the ball. We are going to try and dominate it. And to be honest, that's the best way for us to play. And regardless of the fact that Ipswich are top of the league, we have to do our thing. That's the most likely way that we are going to win. So I am hoping that Ipswich get a little bit of stage fright, but I've thought that at various times this season, as Ben was alluding to earlier on. They had their dodgy run, then they won 6 in a row, and teams near the top have tended to lose 2 or 3 on the bounce when they've had a problem. But Ipswich have had no such problem with that. I mean, it's been a remarkable season, and I don't have anything. I usually try and get a dig in at the other teams when we remember the West Brom guy.
He saw our five back at that Leicester fella the other day, so he's easing off. Yeah,
I do try and get a dig in, but I got absolutely nothing to say about Ipswich. I think they've been tremendous. The fact they've come from League One, the players they've got.
Well, you guys did it. You guys did it, didn't you? Went straight through.
Very, very different back then. I would say. I think the parachute payment difference isn't as marked now then as it certainly is now. I mean, the gap between the clubs. I mean, it's actually going to be interesting next season because it's pretty. I mean, you'd say it's probably fairly likely that the 3 that went up come straight back down. So that means they only get 2 years worth of parachute payments rather than the 3 that we've got. And they've all got their various issues. I mean, Luton, I think, are the most stable, and yet, I mean, it's Luton. You wouldn't expect them to be in a promotion hunt next season if they.
But they will be the richest team in the league.
Yeah, quite possibly.
They will be.
It's mad, but I think I mean, as you say, we did it 11 years ago, going straight through, and of course Norwich did it the year before.
Steve, the vague similarity between us and you back then is there was always a sense that Southampton was way too big for League One. Yeah. And if they could just wind up and get some momentum and start winning in the 3rd tier, could they just fire right through? And we got stuck in the Championship with Marcus Evans' ownership. And you just, talk to, say, Preston or Bristol City fans, where's a good season coming from? As much as League One sucks, if you can get the momentum going and, again, complete self-awareness, we were the rich buggers in League One who had more money than everyone. So you get it started then. And, there's maybe that similarity there.
I'll get a score prediction from you in just a minute, Benjamin. I mean, Alfie, just finally, I mean, we will need to be excellent, won't we, tomorrow? But this is a good opportunity. You look at the weekend, you go, actually, 4 points from those 2 games. Not ideal, but not a bad return.
Yeah, well, I spoke to Carl Walker-Peters on Thursday before the game, and he sees the fact that you go to all 3 of these teams as an opportunity. I mean, the destiny's not in Southampton's hands anymore. The only way you can put it back into their grasp is by beating them all, and you don't have to rely on other results by doing that. But I just look at that Ipswich front 4, and Ben, I don't know if you can tell me if Amari Hutchinson's injured, but Hutchinson, Broadhead, Chaplin, and Kiefer Moore. That's 4 top forwards for this division against a defence which is at the moment struggling against 1 or 2 top forwards when they come against them. And I think it's going to be really difficult. I think Russell Martin's going to have to, or I think he's going to have to come up with something to try and subdue that a little bit. And maybe we see I was speaking to George about it earlier, and he suggested maybe we see the return of the 5 back for the first time under him, just to get enough bodies in so that Kiefer Moore isn't heading everything down, every 10 minutes and causing problems. So I think it's going to be a tough one. Russell Martin is certainly aware of the Norwich sort of link. He brought it up himself that he doesn't need to get himself up for a game as big as this. Obviously I'm sure he is focused, but he knows that it's a big one. I'm looking forward to going. I'm looking forward to the game. I don't think it'll be 0-0. I think there'll be goals in it. But we just have to hope on the right side, because otherwise I think it's pretty much all hope lost.
Benjamin, I'm going to let you go because I know you've got your podcast tonight, haven't you, 8 o'clock. Can I just get a score prediction from you before you do?
Well, I'll stick with what I said with Sam Parkin on the Championship Check-In podcast. I said 2-2, and there's so many ways this could play out. All I will say is the way Ipswich play at home and the way Ipswich... it's not that they defend badly. They're just so open. And you look at the Southampton attacking talent on paper. Southampton could score between 0 and 5 goals at Portman Road if, things add up in certain ways. So I hope, because it's on TV, it's in the plum slot at 5:30, isn't it? I just hope it's a brilliant game where both teams, really, really go at it. They're going to play in a very similar way. There's not much in it other than Southampton have better players than Ipswich. Everyone knows that, but Ipswich have the momentum and maybe the the kind of tick in the box with the coaching. Kieran McKenna's a bit further down the road than Russ Martin with this particular set of players. So yeah, I just hope it plays out how we all expect it to, and it's not this over technical bore fest where both teams have 78% possession and nobody does anything with it.
Well, we've just seen one of those.
Man City, Arsenal today. Benjamin, enjoy your podcast tonight. All the best, and cheers for coming on.
Brilliant. Thank you. So, by the way, I will come on here. If you guys get into second and you go on this run now and you win away at all the teams, I'll come on here. I'll stand up out of this chair and give a massive standing ovation. What a promotion that would be if you went through, beat the entire top three. In fact, Reading did that, didn't they? At your expense when you finished second. They went to a massive run.
Cheers for that.
To be fair, I spoke to Joby Mack enough about it, and he said, "Oh, they murdered us in that game, but we were just winning every single."
Yeah, they had three shots and scored 3 goals. It was ridiculous.
There you go.
In that case, I hope we see you again soon. Then get you on. Cheers for coming on. Thanks a lot. See you later.
Cheers.
Bye. Bye. I mean, Steve, let's be honest. If we lose on Monday, then it's going to be West Brom in the semis, isn't it? It's quite an important one.
Well, I don't think third is out of the question. I think it's still up for grabs if Leicester continue playing the way that they're playing. But yeah, realistically, third or fourth is going to be the kind of sum total of our ambitions for the remainder of the season, and making sure that you go into those playoffs with a bit of momentum, because the last thing you want to be doing is being that team that kind of stumbles and trips their way through into those postseason games. When ultimately those are the games where you need to be putting a performance on, and you can't kind of do that from a standing start. You've got to have a good run at it, I think. And I mean, obviously those closing fixtures don't help in that regard in many ways. But yeah, I mean, we've seen us go away to good opposition in this league and win well, as we did at West Brom, 5-6 weeks ago. So yeah, I mean, and we went into that game off the back of a dreadful defeat at Bristol City, where all of a sudden the sky was falling in, and they got everything sorted, and it went pretty much perfectly that night, I thought. So all we got to do is hope that they pull another rabbit out of the hat tomorrow night.
Yeah, let's get the score prediction. So we've got a 2-2 from Benjamin. Glen, your score prediction for tomorrow?
It doesn't matter what I say because I get it wrong every week. So, but I will at least attempt to say something sensible. I think Ipswich will feel the pressure a little bit. I'd be amazed if they didn't. Even Leeds hit the top and then lost, then drew the next game, didn't get a result. So I'm hoping we catch them on a bad day, and I don't think we can be as, I don't know, ineffective is probably the right word, as we were on Friday. So I'm optimistically going to go for a 2-1 win. Keep it alive.
Alfie, score prediction, please.
Yeah, before I give mine for this week, I just wanted to address the fact that I think someone else said that we'd win 4-1 against Middlesbrough, which was looking back, given the international break and everything we know about coming back and the rhythm, that is an awful prediction. I just want to apologise for that.
I've got no idea where we were coming from with that. I mean, we should have won 4-1, right?
To be fair, maybe. But I think this one, I'm not confident about this as well. But I think it'll be a 1-1 draw. I don't think Saints can afford to lose. I think there's a goal in both teams.
Steve?
Same as Ben, really, was that, it's going to be insanely open. Ipswich's defensive record at home is poor. So if we can't get goals in that environment, then we've kind of no business being a so-called contender, really. But going the other way, obviously they score plenty as well. So that's a problem. But yeah, like Glenn said, the pressure of going top They've not done it before, so we'll see how they react to it. So yeah, 2-2.
Well, we'll have a special midweek podcast on Tuesday night. That one's at 7:15, just to review the game. It's scheduled on the YouTube channel already. So apparently, if you head there and you hit the bell, then you'll get a notification when we start our live stream.
Ding.
So yeah, who knew? So we'll see you on Tuesday evening, 7:15, to review that one.